are you?
I'm good. How are you going?
Amazing. Wow. So we're still live over on Facebook for the Human Aura piece. So what we're going to do is, Mia Muse, if you want to just actually say a word to those who are watching over on Facebook about your involvement with Album 22, just since we haven't shut that one off just yet, and you have woke up to be with us live over in Australia, and we're so thrilled that you are with us in the experience of creating this conscious compilation project that is born today officially.
Well, hello everyone, and hello Laura. It's so good to see you. I think you've had a very busy evening, and so good morning on Friday from Australia, Sydney. And so hello everybody. It's really nice that you've all been participating in what's been going on. It's been really exciting. So yes, I'm Mia Muze. I am a featured artist as part of this album 22. I am very excited. I think it's a wonderful project. So many different types of music and artistry from all around the world, but all tapped into a similar message. I think it's a pretty beautiful project to be a part of. So really happy to be here.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I was just texting Billyboy because he joined the other meeting room, and I want to make sure that he doesn't get missed out on. But what would have happened, do you think, if you hadn't said yes to the opportunity, hadn't found out about it, weren't involved with Album 22? Where do you think you would be right now if you weren't involved with Album 22?
Well, I think I'd be a little bit lonelier because I've made some sort of friends along the way, and it's been really exciting, and there's more people to meet. I don't even know how the other sessions went. I'm really excited to see how they went. And so I think that without this project, yeah, I'd definitely be a little bit lonelier in the world, just sort of, doing my own thing. And so it's really nice to be a part of a special network like this and meet really cool people like you who are dedicated to the cause. And it's really exciting. I'm really happy to be a part of it and represent Australia in this project as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so fun. So thank you for being a good sport. Billyboy is joining in as well. So I'm going to wrap up over on Facebook, but we'll allow Billyboy to say hello as he comes on and gets his audio all set up. So these are just two of the 22 artists to the 22 songs that we've got on album 22 that launched today. Whoop, whoop. Yes, there will be a project in 2022 as well, eventually, that comes from the originals of this project that launched today. And we had to set a day, and we said, why not let it be in the middle of summer as we decide to be the change agent in this world.
We love summer.
Oh, we love the heat. We love just life. We love love. Billyboy. Sorry, Mia?
I think Billy's there.
Billyboy is there. Look at you and your outfit. What are you doing?
Can you hear us?
We can't hear you.
I think he's in a vehicle.
He's in a vehicle. He is
moving vehicle.
Billyboy is on the move. And he's wearing a glittering, shining, bling bling jacket. Tell us about what you're doing, Billyboy.
All right. Sorry about the situation. Just that I got caught up. I had a music video last moment. It was to do extra shooting, and I learned about it last night.
Oh, fair.
So I had was to run quick, and I got it done in Brooklyn, New York. So I realized I wouldn't reach home before the launching would actually, the time actually go beyond what I expected. So I couldn't miss this, of course. So I had was to, wherever I'm at, I have to zoom in.
Amazing. Well, we are so glad that you are here. Billyboy, Mia, this is your first opportunity to connect as artists on the album project that both of you are engaged in, that you're sharing, that you are getting other people excited about, that you're introducing other artists to the people that are already familiar with you. So what's it like? I'll just ask Billyboy if it's safe for you to be able to answer that question, or technologically capable is another element to the equation of driving. But nonetheless, what is it like to be coming together and meeting people who are on the same album, that maybe you've seen the interview that Mia and I did together previously, so you kind of maybe got a feel for, you know, who she is, and maybe you've watched the interview Billyboy and I did together. Mia, what's it like to kind of be meeting one another this way?
Well, hello, firstly, Billy. Nice to meet you. Hello in NY.
Nice to meet you too.
It's cool. It's totally cool to be able to reach across the pond like this, isn't it? And know that we're part of a big shared experience, but having our own experiences. How cool of you to just go and do an impromptu video performance, you
Right?
know? So it's nice to meet you.
It's amazing to meet you too. It's all about goodness.
Absolutely. And did the clip go well? Did it turn out? Do you think it's going to turn out how you want it to?
Yeah, very much so, because when you have positive energy and then enter into something with, the outcome can only be positive.
Absolutely. And with that jacket, I don't think that you can lose.
Right?
Absolutely.
It is just
Fantastic jacket. It's a winning jacket.
thank you. It's actually one of the changes.
It's
And
what?
Yeah, so what is it like for you?
For me to be meeting everybody is amazing. Every single time we've come together and I've met a new person that came online. I say online because this whole thing has been virtual, but it's just like suddenly it's just like your energetic signature is already part of the cause, the project, the album, right? It's like this is so much more than just the thing. And that kind of goes back to the teaching about it never is actually about the thing. And that was one of the surrender points that I had to really reach, that I think was so invaluable for me in this whole process. In that Luna and I were trying to figure out the arrangement of songs, and there were songs that didn't specifically fit in terms of their energetic signature and the intention for what we've created, and the flow of the music and the intention for it to connect to the sacred sojourn of the soul. And it just didn't fully work. And so her and I were a bit hung up. Well, I was hung up a little bit. She was just feeling blocked, and she just said, I just am feeling resistance, I'm super busy. And she was stressed out. She's had a tremendous amount take place in this time, and so it just, I feel like, is a reflection of that law of momentum. It's just like the faster you move, it's just like the more snow you collect on the snowball that's rolling down the hill, that like is just about to like hit the world, you know. And she was having resistance. And so I reached out to Jared. We had a conversation, and then some changes took place. But as all of this process was going on, I was feeling through my own emotions and my own attachments, and wondering where those came from and why that mattered specifically. And really doing a lot of the analysis of my own self and what was important to me and why. And what I realized in that experience is that my role was to be the hostess. My role was to connect people. I'm great at that. That is a strong suit of mine. I love people. I genuinely care. I want to know how you're doing. You know, I want to know what you're doing next, because I want to be able to support you. I want to be able to just drop a plug and say, hey, yo, this is happening. Just check it out. It's fun. Because I love to share fun. I used to call it sprinkling magic on the members at the gym that I worked on, because I'd come in and smile like an all-star, and like each of us, like we all do it. This is part of who we are. It's our DNA, so to speak. Yeah.
I
I think
do.
I
I
think
can
also, sorry, go on, go Billy.
yeah, I was saying that I see that natural ability in terms of like the connection and communication with people. I see that about you. It's natural.
Thank you. Well, it is trained as well. Like I've been a coach for 10 years. So I'm trained at a very high level. Plus I dated the coach instructor for the coaching program I'm certified through for 4 years and lived with him in England. So like I've had a very high level of training and the natural DNA component, which I think we all have. Like it really is that empath DNA. You know, I don't think you could really be a musician without empathy. How could you?
Oh, absolutely. And so one thing that I think is that you've probably touched on that might be interesting to talk about is when you were making the arrangement for the album itself, you probably started to learn that it's, or maybe knew already, you know, it's not so simple just to slap together a bunch of songs. There has to be, you know, a flow, an order, a story, a way that it congeals. It's actually, you know, some people think it's a very arbitrary thing in music, and it's not. When you're putting together a collection, it's a really special thing, and it's important to make sure, you know, that it all fits and works. And so that was probably something that was interesting for you to use, you know, such diverse music. Some people you'd met, some people you hadn't. And so that would have been interesting. I think when you're talking about the connection to the artist and getting a chance to meet Billy now, for example, it is interesting and it is a wonderful opportunity because it shows how things can transmute from virtually nothing to something. And I can give you the direct example. You know, I tapped into Jared's website, I don't know, maybe just under 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, roughly. And Billy's was probably one of the first names that I noticed there. So obviously he's been, you know, one of the older artists that's been on board, and his name pops up a lot, and he's got a good blurb. And so it's really cool now to be in a room with him, you know, and his spangly jacket. And, you know, it's wonderful. I have regular conversations with Jared, you know, I have contact with you. I mentioned to you really briefly, I have been involved. I've been getting quite heavily involved in a collaboration with Brian from the Motivated Mindset Dancers. And that's something that definitely came up because of this project. So that's super cool. And another thing that's really interesting is, you know, Billy sort of like in transit and doing stuff and running around. It's really cool to see, man, because it means that, you know, I as an artist can tap in with another and see, you know, just a little skerrick of your real life. Oh yes, you are running around, you are doing stuff. I'm not the only one doing that. And it gives us a chance to feel that we really do have a connection and an opportunity with these, you know, with the summits and the calls, to be able to just tap into a window there. And, you know, hello Canada, you know, hello Sydney, you know, like it is special. Thank you for doing all of this.
It's my absolute pleasure. And Jared couldn't be with us tonight because he would be traveling as well and not wearing a spangly magic jacket. So he couldn't make it.
To protect him.
Right? Yeah. It's just like you'd mentioned earlier about, it reminded me actually of the Emperor with no clothes. In whatever you were referencing, or maybe it was the human aura conversation I was having right before this that I didn't even end, and we're still streaming over on Facebook from that recording into this one, because it's just like sometimes you just have to blend your worlds. And it was just like I was kind of in myself, not freaking out, but just very aware that I'd created a problem for myself, in that I created 4 events this afternoon, all with separate links, all within 6 hours of each other. And I was recording all of them, and it wouldn't work. And so that's why I messaged you, Billy, and I said, please shift over to this.
Oh, I just saw it.
Oh, perfect.
Well, good
Okay.
that you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I did my best to let you know. I did it on Facebook and I did it over on email as well, and it was the best I could do. But I just realized that if I tried to switch over, I wouldn't be able to record this one because the meeting would still be processing from having recorded the human aura that would have ended right as this meeting was starting. So I'm learning, and I'm doing the best that I can.
You're doing great.
Double booked and ready for the world.
It's a good problem that you've got too much going on and that you're so ambitious. It's much better than my nothing appointment mixed in with my nothing appointment. So good on you. But can I just stop and take a quick moment while we've been talking about clothing and fashion? I've got a very special piece of clothing on. I got a new piece of merch on, which is actually
cool.
Mia Muze merch, and it says "Got It Wrong." It's a single that I released just at the beginning of May, and I just thought I'd wear it because that's my world. So now Billy knows that I released a song, just at the beginning of March, and so yes, we're all sort of doing stuff all over the place, hopefully trying to make an impact.
That's a very powerful work of art. The message that you have. It makes it sound as if the wrong can be right. You got it wrong, but you think you're wrong, but you're right.
Thank you. I like that. I like a hidden message.
Visual art teacher. I am by profession a visual art teacher. When I see that piece of triptych with those faces, it is amazing. It is amazing. So I love it.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it.
You got it wrong because it's not the normal. But at the same time, what is normal? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's normal?
I love
So
that.
that is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah. So I just thought I'd share that with my friends.
Visual arts teacher down below, and then graphic designer as well up top. And you actually helped create album 22's cover, Mia. So if you want to even touch on the inspiration for that, Jared had mentioned it, but it's always interesting, especially since we're going to share both of these videos after on my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, make sure that you do. Laura J.E. Hamilton there too. What was that like to basically receive the instruction from Jared and then take it and make it what it became and then hand it back and know that you not only contributed your artwork musically, but you also did it visually too?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's directly related to your work, man. So it's were you speaking to me, Laura?
I was speaking with you, but then I'm curious what Billyboy was thinking.
Yeah.
Heard.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm confused. Is it me or?
I was talking about Mia having actually created the album cover.
I did. So you're a visual arts teacher, and I actually was involved in a little bit of the digital design of the album, and so that's what we were talking about. And so it's all related because I think it's amazing that you're a visual arts teacher. I would have loved to have had that career as well. And I really thought about that before I did music, I think all creative arts is related, obviously. And so it's hard for us sometimes to just do one aspect. I wouldn't be surprised if you make other art on top of music as well. And so do I. And so something that I've always been deeply involved in is digital art and multimedia. It's been like my hobby life. It's just, and so Laura, I was given, basically, Jared, he throws it out there for anyone who wants to, collaborate or supply their skills. And so, he needed a little bit of help with these artworks, and it was really simple. I was really excited to grab them and augment and give him what he sort of needed, and pass them back. And it was an additional way for me to leave a little bit of a mark without intending to. So it was nice to be a part of the visual arts portion of that, Laura. I really appreciate it. It's really awesome. And now when I go to the website, there's little logos and designs that I did, which is super cool.
Right.
So I'm happy to have contributed. and I'd be happy to continue contributing. I think it's amazing how artists have different, we have a need for so many different ways of expression. I'm noticing that a lot with your YouTube channel, actually. You know, you do a lot of different things, and it's all part of it, you know, being a creative, isn't it? Just expressing in different ways. It's not necessarily just one way. Sometimes you want to, you know, say a piece. Sometimes you want to sing a song. Sometimes you want to, you know, make a drawing.
Billyboy is having a baby. Well, not.
Oh my gosh!
But his lady's pregnant.
Congratulations!
We do create in different ways.
That's incredible. I think the creation of life. Well, guess what? No one can beat that shit. That's
right?
amazing. Amazing.
Right? I know. I just found that out last week when I did his interview, and it was just like, you mean you're having a baby? Like, when I thought of a launch, I didn't think about that kind.
So you guys are thrilled, of course. Is it your first, Billy?
No. First and foremost, before yeah, the way you made it sound as if I am literally gonna be the one. But I understand, no problem. It's still the same way. I want to say something before I go into that topic, right? Your work of art is very amazing. I couldn't have thought about something much better. I couldn't, because whatever you did, it actually it says a lot, and it covers the entire what's the purpose of the album. I could see the harmony. All right, so it is amazing. You did an amazing work. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And yeah, a lot of that was Jared too. I've just got to be really clear. So, you know.
Well, the overall thing, it is amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And in responding to the question if it's my first. No, it's not my first. I have at 12 years old. Yes, he's now in Jamaica spending time with his mother. And I also have a 4 years old who actually trying to rule me. Right? He's trying to be the leader of the house. Yeah. And this new one coming aboard. So it's 3 boys. Yeah,
that is amazing.
I've been lucky enough to have a girl.
Well done. Well done.
I want to know what it's like to raise a girl. Yes. I want that headache.
Well, keep going. Chances are you'll get a chance to find out. So
yeah,
keep going. That's really awesome.
You don't have children, Mia?
I don't. I've never. My official excuse is my career never sort of allowed me to make time for it. But my real reason, I don't know. It just hasn't happened.
I have intentionally not.
Okay. I really respect that.
I'm 33 and I've never found somebody I wanted to co-parent with for the rest of my life, for one. But also, I think with who I am as a warrior at heart, not because I want to be, but just because it's just like there's so much that needs to change in this world. And it's just like I'm not one that can just say I don't see it. Like if somebody's like getting killed or like torturing an animal or, you know, a human, it's just like I can't just like not do something. I've always been like that.
That's amazing.
And so for somebody like me, like amazing, maybe like challenging to be the one that like might look brave but what like just kind of feels really stupid but just like knows that it needs to happen, and it's just like nobody else. Oh my god, there's a hunting story.
I do know exactly what you mean.
I could tell you, but it's just like for somebody like me, for us children are used as leverage, as pawns to just go against us, to make us conform, because the tribe has always been used against the individual, especially empowered women, which historically were just called witches and burned at the stake, but men were too, and they were called wizards. And you know, all of it was just don't be too magical, don't sprinkle magic, don't actually activate the heart centers of the ones that hear your song and say, ooh, I'm at a higher level. You just helped me let go of something that no longer served me. Thank you to the artist.
The interesting thing is you got about 10 years of people still saying to you, oh, but you've still got time. Oh, but you've still got time. So get used to that for the next 10 years and you'll be like, yes, but I've made my decision, you know. So
nobody actually says that to me because they see how different I am and my belief systems being so alternative, not even that they're so extreme, but just they're so different from the mainstream that I don't think anybody actually necessarily fully thinks of me as the mother. Like,
Well, that's good.
it,
Then you've set it up perfectly.
it's more, I think they're like, my own mother's just like, dear God, I wouldn't want you to have a child because that poor thing would like have to go through being your child, like, because of how, you know, outspoken I am and different. It's just like, if you're different and that's my choice, that's one thing, but like to bring a little person into the world, or a little being, you know, from some perspectives that would be a real curse to place onto that child. But if it were to ever happen, in truth, like, we have to understand that that soul chose me then, in that case, to be its mother, or in this case, Billyboy. And you know, your seed was planted in your lady, and you've got a little one coming, and you're gonna be different, and you found somebody that accepts you and loves you for all of you, and you got a 4-year-old that thinks that you created the world. So,
and that got a whole lot deeper than just congratulations.
I would like to say something if you don't mind.
please.
Yes. What I was about to say. First and foremost, everybody has a right to the pathway to write their own stories and how they want to write their own stories. Right? And that is okay. Nothing is wrong with that. Right? But I heard them mention, I know you're joking about that part in terms of like to have a child is like the child to grow up in that in you mentioned something about curse. In terms maybe having you to deal with, but no, that's not true. I know that you're just joking anyway. Because at the end of the day, the moment you become a parent is like your life change. Your life, everything change, and it's all about that kid. And of course, that kid can use your own weakness against you in terms of that children do that. You know, that's the time where you have to show them tough love. But I have no doubt that whatever your choice is, you will be good at it. Anyway you take it. So that's what I have to
Like,
say.
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good wisdom, Billy.
I love this dynamic. I love the fact that right now we're having a conscious conversation about parenting
Yeah.
at the birth or launch of album 22.
Absolutely. It's actually totally appropriate. And so we were talking about creations and creating, and you've created a human. And, you know, I think thank you for appreciating the artwork, Billy. And I'm gonna harp on that just for a minute longer because it is relevant to what we're talking about. It's exactly what you and Jared had set up. I don't know what your initial conversations were like because I wasn't there, but from what you guys have created, what I imagine, you know, the clear vision was obviously to put people in a room together.
Yes.
And to and thus all the faces are there. And so that is, you know, well done to you guys. Once upon a time, we were all sitting in our own rooms, weren't we?
Yeah.
And just our own face. And so it's nice to albeit, yeah, it's great to be in a room together. It's really cool to speak, you know, lifetime to Billy. And we're all on such massive time differences too, so it's not that easy.
Yeah, where you from?
What's that?
I'm
No,
in Ontario, Canada.
Where's your location?
I'm in
where?
I'm in Sydney, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, Sydney, Australia. So down under.
I don't know exactly where, but I know
The arse end of the world, we call it. No, we're bottom of the globe. So yeah, it's Australia.
So you're the foundation. Don't say matter. The foundation of the globe.
At the foundation of the globe.
Yeah, the foundation of the globe.
Absolutely, arse end.
That's what we're talking about.
We got Mia holding the bass and covering the front, literally.
I'll tell you a really a funny behind the scenes thing about Mia Muze for a moment. Just for a minute and a day, I was a cheerleader, which is really random if you know my personality at all. Not really that kind, but I was a great foundation. I was the base man, had the strong legs, could hold the squad up. So that's yes. We won't mention that again.
Like it. No,
What do you do?
I never was a cheerleader because I was insecure. I used to have a sweating problem. And because I used to sweat too much, I was afraid I was going to like sweat and embarrass myself. And so I didn't end up becoming a cheerleader for that reason. And then I switched schools and I got my sweat glands removed, which I would also advise not to do because basically they take out a chunk of skin like that and then stitch it back together. So I've got like big scars under my armpits and I still sweat. I was 15 and somebody that basically had a friend that had the surgery done when I was complaining about how much I would sweat because I am a very high functioning machine. And so my body needs to release a lot of steam. And I didn't understand all of the mechanics of the physical body back then. And my person had basically said that if I said that it was affecting me psychologically, that I could get OHIP, Ontario's health insurance plan or policy, to pay for the surgery to have that corrected. And so I, as one who has always been willing to go for what I wanted, made the call to the doctor, then made the call to the specialist, then got myself to those appointments, and then got the surgery booked and had the surgery completed, and basically woke up still sweating, then with an insecurity about sweating on top of.
So it didn't help at all?
No, actually, in fact, it changed my body's ability to regulate my temperature properly. So it created a lot of issues, which is why even with these injections, about how all the issues showing up underneath in the lymph drainage areas, that's because the armpits are the area for detoxifying, which is why they've been filling it with aluminum, right? As well, to make sure to block all those pores and then create the cancer that can spread through the body. But that's all a side conversation, not for today per se.
Yeah.
But I shared that story just because my insecurity held me back from being a cheerleader, which I would have been naturally good at. And then I not only had the same problem, but then I had scars on top of it because I tried to cover it. So I'm just recommending anybody that has hyperhidrosis, which is overactive sweat glands, like your sweat glands are under your entire body, all of your pores. If you get sweat glands removed, they're cutting out a chunk of skin that then gets stitched together, and then you've got the sweat glands that used to be in a different place underneath of where the gap was, that now gets stitched together and then stretched out and creates nasty scars. Which, not to judge scars, but is to say that it's not necessary if you actually know people that can say, wouldn't recommend that because of my experience, which is what this experience has been all about. Billy.
Yeah.
Yes, Billy boy.
Yeah, can I say something?
Please.
Yes, of course, and that's a very amazing story, and I'm sure that the world will listen and learn from that. There ain't nothing wrong with that. We all do, stuff. We all search for stuff to correct stuff. Ain't nothing is wrong with that. But what I want to share with you, right? First and foremost, I take nothing from those people who make the deodorants. No, I don't have a problem with that. You understand? But baking soda take very good care of that. You know baking soda?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I use up until now. I just use a tot of baking soda and I rub one arm and I rub the other. And guess what? I can do it every other day, and it takes care of that. Yeah,
nice.
Very good.
Home remedy.
Yeah,
I love home remedies.
It's pure baking soda.
You gonna try it, Laura?
It's such a cure-all. And actually,
remember, people drink baking soda. People bake with baking soda and all those stuff, right? It's just you take a tip and you rub it on the arm here.
You should try
just a tip, both arm, and it takes. You don't need to use deodorant.
I actually use baking soda and coconut oil for my toothpaste.
I like coconut oil in my toothpaste too.
Do you do threading, where you actually suck the oil through your teeth and don't swallow any of it, but you can
Oil pulling. Yes, I never referred to it as threading, but yes, I do.
No, I think I got that wrong. It is called threading.
And I do like threading too.
Not threading. I've never done threading of the eyelashes or eyebrows.
It's fantastic. I do the whole face. It's absolutely fantastic. It's much better for you than waxing. It doesn't actually it doesn't wrinkle the skin as much. It's just like a light cotton on there, and it's feels like a deep cleanse. It's good. I like them. It hurts a little bit.
Yes, well, anything worthwhile can have moments of pain in order to get to the gain, right? They say every good.
But I also found that very interesting, Laura. It's one of those things that that particular condition, it's something that everyone might have an awareness of slightly, but very seldom that they should meet or speak to anybody who has actually dealt with it firsthand. It's like one of those things that very occasionally we'll get a flash of it on media, you know what I mean? And so it's really interesting to hear, your experience with the sweat issue, directly.
Well, I'll be honest, like these are my scars that I say, because like they had the drainage tube. Like I'm 33, so this is 18 years later, right? Because I got it done when I was 15. But like this is called what's ropey, because the skin is that was where the drainage tube was put. I don't mean to emphasize this point, but like Mia said, like imagine being 15 where these are much redder and I'm still sweating, and I got this done so that I wouldn't sweat, and now I have the sweating and these. And
yeah, it's pretty crazy,
right? But I've stopped at least 2 other people from actually going forward with that procedure, because people knew me that had it done, that had friends talking about it, and they asked me, and I said, absolutely do not mess with your body's natural ability to self-regulate. And furthermore, I've actually come into contact with somebody that said you can actually work with some of there's a process that can actually make it so that your body starts working properly again. So then you don't have the problem, because you're actually getting rid of the block that's causing the problem underneath of it. So I haven't tried that personally, but there's lots of options, natural solutions, but ultimately.
Now you've got another one from Billy. You got one to try.
Right? Yes. And then we've got the pulling as well with the coconut oil in the tea. So super exciting to be gaining access to just grassroots information that could genuinely help you. And so this album, you have the opportunity to be able to plug into, because there are just a few of us on tonight. I don't necessarily feel like we need to have the entire time, so that Billy, you can carry on your way, and Mia, you can get about your day. But what I do want each of you to say is what the journey of actually going from nothing to album 22, or not nothing, because you were doing something before you got here, but it was an idea around bringing people together.
I understand what you're saying. Because every other work of art, because as you know, you define what is art. Art is a free creative activity. Right? That's my definition of art. And every masterpiece that you actually put your input on, put your work of art on, to reach to the mass media of people, it is just amazing. You have to, it's like treating every day of your life as the last day you're living. So you will live it up fully. So each work of art that you put out, it is like your only piece. And you have to treat it as your only piece, because it's different. And each will send a different message to people. And if you put that care in your production, in your work of art, then with no doubt, it's all about being, it's all about goodness. So I nurture all of my work of art. So it is indeed amazing to be a part of this project. And another part, in addition to that, because of the purpose of this, we're talking about humanity here. The nurturing and the caring and the upliftment of humanity and the world on the whole. you know. So it's a big thing, very big thing. Yeah, that's what I think.
And I love that it's a daddy to be that already is a daddy that is showing you already have your heart not just on your sleeve, but that you have it open, which is just so wonderful to have the example of. Because how do we aspire for that which we've never seen? So thank you for all that you've been through to be able to sit as you do and to be who you are.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Mia, what would you say your journey or the transformation from nothing at the beginning of this in terms of connection to the tribe, to the community, to the other songs and creative opportunities and everything that's come out of this, your journey over these last 7 months, how do you feel like this project has contributed to that history of your life?
I might take the opportunity to sort of take the stick from Billy, so to speak, because he's another storyteller, and I really loved what you were saying about it being, you know, having a separate piece of your life. And so you made me think about how maybe the collections that you work on, maybe the works that you work on are a separate piece. They're all a separate piece of the puzzle. And I started visually seeing, the puzzle. And so I didn't realize that I had been laying down these puzzle pieces of my life and doing, albums or whatever it is that I'm doing, and didn't realize that album 22 was going to have its own piece, its own puzzle piece. And sort of, I guess a while ago, we might have all felt the same when we were all talking about it. It was a little bit conceptual. It was almost like a blank piece of paper that we're cutting at. We don't know what shape it's supposed to be. And now it's taken shape, and it's become important, more important than I realized. It's important when you email someone and you send them your music and you talk about that stuff, but it becomes even more important when people like you show up saying, hey, it's so important that we want to talk about it. And let's put people in different time zones in a room and discuss how it means to us. So I think that it's growing in importance. And I think that what's really amazing for all of us is that we know that with the pandemic, the whole world shifted in thinking from, let's not really talk about mental illness, mental health. Okay. Only certain people talk about that sort of stuff, only the alternatives. And then we went to a world where everyone is trying to talk about it. And what's really cool is that if you think of it as a massive wave, and the wave hits the rocks, when it pulls back, there we all are standing on the rocks. We were there already singing out to the cause. And now we have an opportunity for it to be, amplified, I guess. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Was that a little bit too metaphorical?
No, it's beautiful. We're getting onto the beach.
Talking to people who can relate. We can relate to that.
Thank you. So yes, that's what I feel like. And so I think that it's going to grow with resonance. And the more we care about it, the more love and effort that we sort of put into these discussions, any aspect to do with the album, it grows in importance. So it's really cool. It's maybe it's becoming its own emotional being. What do you think, Laura?
I don't know that I want it to be an entity all on its own, which is a thought with collective energy of like kind around itself. However, this is already that to an extent. So it's already become an entity of itself. It's just, will it be a beast or will it be a beaut? And we're the ones that get to decide, which is the reason that we are not going to hide from the world. And we're going to keep sharing the word and the message and the songs. And ultimately, the way that we're going to do that is actually to have a mentorship component. So these artists both have a lot of resources, a lot of skill sets, a lot of benefits, that a lot of value that can be offered to ones who want to plug in, ones who are interested in actually pursuing being an artist, whether that be in print or music or writing, whatever it is that is your thing, what you're going to come across is what each of us have been through, which is rejection and doubt. And we're all faced with that opportunity to step forward or pull back, and we have to choose. And so what I would love, since there are just only the three of us here today, is for you to actually speak into an opportunity you had to step forward and didn't, and then how that took you off course, but ultimately roundabout got you here. So I say this because I feel like I'd love for one person, if you have a really good, like it didn't pan out, like I certainly do. I don't need to share my story in this moment, but like if you've got a good like failure turned like good experience, I'd love to be able to hear that. Or if you have a success that ultimately you thought was a win at the time, but then you got down the line and it was just like maybe that wasn't actually what you wanted, that you thought when you asked for it. So like there's those questions that are coming up in my mind right now that I feel is so important to understand, that as an artist we all fail. It's just, do we get ourselves up?
I'll jump in on that note. I think it's perfect that you say that, because while you were sort of giving us such a lovely introduction saying that we're so experienced and stuff, what I was thinking in my mind is so experienced with failure, you know? And
yeah,
that's what I was thinking. And it's true. I mean, the reason why, I'm sure Billy would agree, part of why we probably have any confidence and experience is 10 billion failures that have occurred throughout our existence, you know? And so we can share that.
absolutely. Yeah,
of course it becomes success, you know, as you know, it's I'm not being negative, but it's one of those funny things. It's like, yes, you get kicked down, you know, or you get turned down, or, you know, whatever it is. It's very common in the music industry over and over and over and over and over again, to the point which you become an experienced person with credibility. It's amazing. Right?
Right, absolutely. Yeah, that's what it just takes, getting told no to the right person that was right before the one that actually gives you the yes. Billyboy?
I love the way you put it a while ago. Remind me of her name again.
Mia.
Mia. Good. I love the way you put it a while ago. You understand? And it makes us show that it is no different from, let's say, you're growing up from one stage of a child to that of an adolescent to an adult. You will get it wrong, and you will find other people correcting you and say, hey, this is the way to do it. This is the way to do that. But at the same time, you will realize that going through all those phrases, you will realize that at each stage you will learn something new. And mistakes are one of the greatest way to teach people how to make something better. I didn't say perfect, but perfect is in the process. But with maturity is what I will call it. So maturity is no different in the music industry or whatever, you know. It takes some time for you to get it wrong sometimes. And sometimes you think you get it wrong, but you didn't get it wrong. It's just the wrong type of persons that you're actually being around. And you have to understand, you can't sell a person beef who does not eat beef. You have to sell a person beef who actually eat beef. So that's the reason when you have a restaurant, you'll have a variety for people to choose from. So it doesn't, the person who actually hit beef, they'll say, hey, you cook wrong. Well, you didn't cook wrong, but just that you cooked the wrong thing for the wrong person. When you find that person who actually hit beef, they will praise you for that. So at the end of the day, not all the times we think we get it wrong, we get it wrong. We didn't. We have to revisit and see why. You understand what I'm saying? And guess what? I always believe in dominating your own space. It's like you step on the floor, whatever is under your shoes is your space. And maybe a little bit over. It's your space. So create your own space. You don't care about who's selling jerk chicken, who is selling a vegetable or whatever, you over a period of time research continuously. What can I do to make my jerk chicken different from the other? And that's all about life. That's how life evolves. You understand what I'm saying? So each person have something different to take to this world. There are a lot of other things to be invented. I don't think everything has invented as yet. I've invented as yet. There are still more stuff left to be invented unless we actually get ourselves in our own mind thinking, thinking creativity. Then that's how we will be able to invent and to create all those things that were not here before. So dominate your own space and hold the ground. That's what I think.
That's a good, really good tip. I think I'll go on from Billy's point there. I think bringing it back into line with what your question was, Laura, I feel that Billy's just given us a really good example of some of the things that are available to learn with the mentorship. Obviously, he has an understanding about, you know, presence and stage presence and performance, and these are the sorts of things that maybe some mentorees would like to learn about. They might not have had the opportunity to put themselves in public spaces or have long-term experience. And so I love what he's saying. It really is very important when you learn some, they're not so simple, but when you learn tricks like how to command, you know, the little zone that you've got, when you've learned things like that, nothing can necessarily stop you. You can deliver the best performance that you've ever delivered. You know, feel like you're doing it to a stadium, but you could be doing it in a coffee house, and it doesn't bloody matter, because it's how you conduct yourself in that space. And so I think it's important to bring up to mentorees. You will, through the program, have an opportunity to access so many unique experiences from people like Billy, who, you know, have who have, you know, who's going to be having number 3 child and has a lot of life experience, and maybe also understands a lot about how to balance stuff. But, you know, I imagine that you've done a lot of live performance. Obviously, you just did a video. Myself, I do a lot of studio producing, recording. And so I'm really good for, you know, technical questions with production, or, you know, how to produce. It's not necessarily the same as performing. And you know, I'm experienced with collaboration productions, but also I'm a very solo artist. Billy, I imagine that you've probably done some collaborations as well as having to do a lot of solo work. Is that right for you? And so then you sort of, and then people will learn through the program that, you know, that tends to be a bit of a normal thing. You've got to learn to have a lot of independence. You can't, you know, the first probably real truth that people need to understand is, if you're just looking for tricks that other people set up for you, it's not going to work. You know, that's the first thing. You know, don't even take a step forward if you've got that in mind. But if you're thinking this is going to be grueling, and I'm going to have to put in my heart and soul, I'm going to have, I like your word mistakes better than my word failure. That is, it's an error to say failure. Mistake should replace that word. And yes, many mistakes, but they can lead to so many different understandings, learning, growth. Also, amazing things can happen in recording, by the way, through mistakes. And often some of the favorite parts of songs that we will hear will be little things that happened in the studio. And so there's a lot to making music. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity. People should be excited that they have the chance to access people who have done it, who continue to do it, and who do it regardless of all of the odds. So that might be something valuable. What do you reckon, Laura?
Hugely valuable. And I love that you made the distinction between mistakes and failures, because truly failure is in not getting back up after you've fallen, which means that the likelihood is you will fall at some point. It's just, will you rise, or will you choose to take up more ground space than what Billyboy was talking about in letting the shoes be the ground that you're taking up, or the space that you're taking up when you're walking on the floors? Like, are you gonna lie full, like, you know, do a full out face plant and then, you know, feel bad for yourself because you fell on your face? Like, I've been, a trained coach, teacher, speaker for 10 years. And it's just like, I feel like finally now things are kind of, picking up because I've made the connections and I've stayed persistent and I've continued moving forward, even though it hasn't looked the way that everybody else thought that it needed to in order for it to be successful. You know what I mean? It's just like right now what I'm doing is I understand that what I'm doing matters and that it needs to happen, and that parenting is an unpaid gig because everyone would quit at some point if it wasn't. Like,
I think it makes it easy for a lot of people to actually leave, the music game in a way, because there's 80% of the people I know stopped because of, having a family, which, hey, of course, anyone can respect having a family and it's a wonderful thing. But yeah, to continue is a whole different kettle of fish. It's a whole different animal, isn't it?
And then the
And then
sacrifices that we've made to be able to continue, even when the odds were stacked up against us, and we persisted, and may or may not feel like we've arrived. Well, I hope we never feel like we've arrived, because then we've just hit a plateau that these were about to come down. Because if we ever think we've arrived, we're just not yet seeing the next peak that we need to get to in the experience of evolution. But Mia, I feel like it's so funny that Billyboy dropped off right as I was talking about parenting. At there, whatever I had said, I had spoke about parent or father, and then it was just like he dropped off, but it was just so synchronistically perfect. And I know he was traveling, and we've been together for nearly an hour, and I really want to appreciate and honor you for showing up, for offering this time, for offering the value. Truly, I'm so excited to have you as one of the artists on album 22, and to also have you as a contributor for the mentorship program and running some tutorials and sharing your wisdom. And I'm excited for people to have an opportunity to be exposed to you that may not otherwise have that opportunity if it wasn't for the connections that we've made that allow other people to make connections. And so that's kind of the piece here, where it's just like we have to understand the ripple effect of humanity. It's just like Mia and I are in the screen right now and you're watching us in this moment. But then we have to understand that if you tell someone about us, it's just like now there's 4 in the screen, even though, it was you telling somebody and you weren't there when they watched us. But
well, they're joining the conversation by actively listening. And so, yes, it becomes the proverbial album cover where you've got all the different faces on the screen. And so, yeah, it's wonderful to be a part of it. I think I'm really excited about all the projects that you guys have been coordinating. And I'll go back to just quickly back to an earlier question that you asked me, how would I have felt without the project? I now am happy that I don't have to imagine that. And I have now in my future a knowledge that there's only going to be more good things coming through all this network. And so I now can be excited about all of that. And so I just want to say that's super cool. That's something that wouldn't have occurred without album 22. So I want to just quickly say, I think it's wonderful, every single artist that contributed. And I think it's wonderful. We're all probably grateful for the effort that you and Jared have put in. And it's nice to look to the future, have a couple of things that we know that are coming, and then the rest is sort of undefined. It's exactly what we needed.
Yeah. Love it. So excited. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You have had the pleasure of being with Mia Muze, Billyboy, the Jamaican Cowboy, right before he may have had technological issues. But we are at the top of our time together and beyond. So I'm going to end the meeting at this point over on Facebook. And Mia will just have a couple words and then we'll say adieu. Have a good one, guys. Thanks. Toodaloo.